So why I went through the whole speculation about why it was written is because I really sort of really love Marjorie Garber's conclusion about this particular play, in terms of its, in terms of him and it's sort of what it's really sort of saying to us. And so I'm just going to kind of basically just quoted her directly. Undoubtedly, political, philosophical, and literary disputes were animating the London scene at that time. You know, pick a year. You can link it up. Pick a year. There's some art thing going on, there's some thematic thing, there's some political. It's like, yeah, it was written that year. Unlike something like, that's so clear in like 1599, the year of Shakespeare, that James Shapiro makes such a clear case for, especially Julius Caesar, that specific things were happening that seem so clearly he's using everyday events to really talk about. Here, maybe not so much, because it's not really dealing in those kinds of specifics. He's not creating a whole kind of law thing. He's actually borrowing things that are circulating in the time. So her great case is it kind of doesn't matter when you're picking it. You're always going to be able, if you go down that rabbit hole trying to nail it to a specific period, and if you did, so what? What do you have by that? Does that mean that Christopher Siebel has to put it in 1593 versus 1597? I mean, what does that mean to us? Nothing, right? So I think it's a great caution that she's giving us about really getting too obsessed about making this have that clear a connection, as they do in every age, as she says. And the play's virtues and successes are not based upon any antiquarian lore, like we were saying before, like can you link it to so-and-so and the School of Night and what happened in Henry and the whatever. Yeah, there was a Berowne and a Longueville, and people have go down those rabbit holes all they want. She's saying, not necessarily so. In the tension between those who eat paper and drink milk, drink ink, wow, and those who hearken after the flesh, the playwright in this play, as in others, will choose a middle ground. And this is the thing, right? This guy is always in the middle. I don't know about you, but I was taught that it was everything in moderation is what I had been taught is the Greek sayings. And actually the sayings, as I've now been retaught, is nothing in extreme, which is this kind of nuanced difference. It just means that you still can kind of play off this way. Nothing in moderation, everything in moderation always kind of meant this to me. Do you know what I mean? And point of fact is, he's just, yeah. And it's sort of beautiful and open and compassionate and very human. And I think that one of the things that we seem to gravitate toward in terms of his writing is that point of fact is he will almost always take that middle ground and that sort of middle way. And I think that that is kind of, in some ways, the tensions of the play of the guys who want to completely pull themselves away from, and the people who can't pull themselves away from, and those who live by milk, by ink and paper, and by flesh. Posited in this play is sort of the tensions and how that gets worked out, and how that gets worked out in a single body is really sort of like the putting together of the left brain and right brain, which we would be talking about a lot. It's just sort of a beautiful way to frame this particular play, I think. You that way, we this way, which of course is the last line of the play. It's like, what the heck is that supposed to mean? For Garber, it means, and the many remarkable pleasures of Shakespearean comedy, as of Shakespeare's plays in general, is the way each play can be situated simultaneously in the past and in the present, in the time of Shakespeare, the Elizabethan playwright, and the time of Shakespeare, the uncanny commentator on modern life. Again, this sort of like, he's on that balancing thing that you have to do in the gym kind of thing. He really is both, and that he's able to encompass both, and that somehow what was past comes through the body, and he's setting us and also kind of anticipating future, which is kind of a remarkable thing, and that may be the real definition of genius. Being able to sit in that swirl of things as it comes around and through, and you set a new course for those of us to follow. And I think in some ways that's what this play is really doing, and I kind of love that she was able to sort of elevate it and put it in that frame because, well, we're having all the fun with the body frame, so it's kind of nice to have this balance between, you know what I mean? So that was sort of a fun thing to do. So that's as far as I got this morning on it. You that way, we this way could be understood as pointing past ways, always changing the future. That's kind of where I got today about the production values and sort of, especially cultural context, for love flavors. What's that? Oh, we have fun facts, right. Okay, yes. If I would look at my little thing here, right? Thank goodness, that's why you're here.
That's right.
Right. Longest continuous scene Shakespeare wrote. You know, I was making such a big case for The Tempest being the first modern play. And it may well be like by proportion, like most of it is. And by that it's because there's only 6 or 7 or 8 scenes or whatever, I mean, there are in The Tempest, and there's no character that doubles, and it's like a cast of 9 or 11. You know what I mean? Like it's got that sort of modern sensibility to it. But when you run across this kind of thing mid-career, where it's like this is like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf scene. Do you know what I mean? Continuous scene, not broken up into like the little sound bites or jump cuts that we have in contemporary plays. And heading towards sort of the act of a Shakespeare, of a Chekhov or Ibsen. But point fact is, this is one long thing to sort of sustain. And that is totally different than what he's been doing in a lot of other plays. Or anybody else has been doing. The fact of the matter that this just sort of lands itself here. It's sort of extraordinary what he's trying to really accomplish. Is it just the arrogance of youth who says, I can write that, it's like, I can write that scene in, 45 minutes and I'm not going to take a break. Perhaps, I don't know. But there's something really kind of moving about sort of like, it is one big sort of aria, isn't it? It's one big chunk that you have to kind of grapple with. We don't get this sort of weaving thing. The weaving's happening internally. It's not happening by transition, which makes it a totally different kind of, it's like all of a sudden it's a modern play. We know how to do those, right? 45 minutes of one thing. And so that kind of, I was like, oh, that's a lot better for some reason. Like, oh, it's a modern play. I know how to enter those. Like people enter a door, there's like doors. People go in them. It's like a farce. Great. It's like Act 1 noise is off. Okay. So, or maybe it's Act 3. Probably, right? Yeah. No known direct source for the plot, as we were talking about it earlier. And then there's this word, until supercalifragilisticexpialidocious came and knocked it off. It's probably got to be one of the longest words in the English language, and we'll have a lot of fun hearing people stumble over that. It should be loaded down with honors. Here's some fun facts that Sean and I have discovered in the last couple of weeks. Perjured and perjury is the most use of these words in any of his plays, which is interesting to think about. Yeah. And rhetoric, the use of rhetoric is higher proportionally in this play than any other play as well. Just the sort of the devices of, we'll talk a little bit about them next week. Like what are those devices, and how is it incorporated? Similar to, we'll unpack a little bit more about like sonnets and how that structurally works and how that formally works, and how that poetically works in the play. We'll spend a lot of time on that next week. But that was sort of an interesting sort of, I suspected. This came as kind of a really interesting sort of thing to sort of think about framing wise. And there are other words that we're discovering that have that are mentioned a lot. And boy, the second, third, and fourth definitions of any words are being used in almost every speech, especially the word will. We've discovered all kinds of different definitions of will, including the body one, which is sort of the it's like the Joker. The word will has become the Joker. It's like you make it fit anything you want it to fit. Because the primary meaning is one thing, but we all know what the surface meaning really is. The secondary meaning really is. So it's just super fun to think about. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.